Well, enough is enough. That is the message of frustrated parents in Brooklyn demanding their playgrounds back. They've been chained and locked for months to prevent the spread of COVID-19. In dramatic acts of defiance, groups of parents are cutting those locks and even sawing welded gates open. News 4's John Chandler is live in Williamsburg with why they say not having their playgrounds open is actually putting their children in even more danger. John?
Well, Chuck, that's right. A bit of a standoff here between the city and this community. We have been at this playground since about 8 this morning. We have yet to see the Parks Department come and relock these gates, and we have seen crowds gather throughout the day. In fact, if you look behind me, this playground now looks like any day after school as it would. It is packed and not a mask to be found here. But this community says even though the mayor may be concerned about that, they have a right to be at this playground, and that's why they cut the locks and open the gates. Kids swing, slide, and scoot at the Middleton playground. It sounds like summer on this block of Williamsburg. Sounds the mayor would rather not hear.
People are not allowed to open up a playground that's not yet available to the public. It's for a reason.
The reason? Coronavirus. But the Hasidic community says it has good reason for cutting open the locks on Middleton Playground. Even when the Parks Department welds them shut, lock cutters return and reopen the gates to cheers.
I am very worried about my children's safety. I'm also worried for their safety if they're staying home.
We have big families, we have little apartments here in Brooklyn.
This man says he's a counselor and he considers coronavirus risk secondary to mental health.
There is maybe a limited risk, but the risk of the anxiety and depression and the mental illnesses, social problems, academic problems that they're suffering overrides that little risk of how many children were affected.
Vowing to keep cutting locks, State Senator Simcha Felder and Assemblyman Simcha Eichenstein say the mayor is making criminals out of mothers and children. And many point to weeks of daily protesting by the thousands and see a double standard.
If you'd really believe it's a risk, then I understand there was 400 years of oppression, as the mayor said, but if you really believe there's a big risk, you wouldn't allow that, because you wouldn't want all these people at the protest to get sick.
Still, not everyone in this community agrees. Williamsburg has been one of the hardest hit during the pandemic, with a 40% infection rate. Simon Weisner prefers playgrounds stay locked.
We're all in darkness about this virus. We don't know where it's coming from, where it's going from. And we're slowly trying to reopen the city.
If folks act prematurely and that causes the disease to start spreading again, then that's the kind of thing that will undermine our ability to get to phase 2 and stay in phase 2.
But Moshe Blum has one message for the mayor.
This park has to be open.
And this park, as it stands right now, remains open. No word from the Parks Department on if they will come here and lock the gates, tonight. As for phase 2, the mayor says June 22nd, at best, is when parks and playgrounds like this, he says, would open for phase 2. We're live in the Williamsburg section. I'm John Chandler, News 4 New York.
All right, John, thank you. Now to the latest on New York's road to recovery. 2 regions are now set for phase 3. Western New York entered it today, the capital region tomorrow. Phase 3 allows gatherings of up to 25 people and indoor dining as well. Now, New York City is still in phase 1, as you know, if you're just listening a moment ago to that last report. Next Monday is still considered the day for moving the city to phase 2, but the mayor is now saying it's looking more like phase 2 is not going to happen until the first week of July. News 4's Andrew Siff is live in the West Village to explain the mayor's hesitance and the growing frustrations for business owners. Andrew?
Chuck, that's right. Tables like this one replicate that by 25,000 across the city. That's how many restaurants and bars typically have some folks seated outside in spectacular weather like this. Some of them still waiting for phase 2 to start, trying to get a head start. Cooped up for months, New Yorkers ready to sit outside and eat.
This is how we make, a life here in New York. We have to have outdoor restaurants.
Problem is, the places you see right now letting people dine al fresco are breaking the law. The city won't reach phase 2 until Monday at the earliest.
Yeah, it's very frustrating because we're told maybe the 22nd of June next week. And people keep calling me to find out, and I can't give them a definite.
Today, we asked the mayor to explain why businesses don't have the answers yet. If New York City does not enter phase 2 on Monday, it's not because of the health data. it's because the city isn't ready.
You're a good guy. I've known you a long time. I'll say it very nicely. You're wrong. That's not what's going on. What's going on is we are watching a reality here in New York City that's by far the most complex in the entire state.
The mayor got his own coronavirus test today at a Lower East Side health clinic, one day after he woke up under the weather and canceled his public events.
I feel fine today, and, I think I just had a 24-hour kind of thing.
Not feeling so fine, small businesses. Even though the takeout crowds have been big at some of the city's 25,000 eateries, posing concerns about social distancing, the city's Hospitality Alliance says the financial strain is frightening. How many of them you think will still be afloat post-pandemic?
It is so difficult to tell. We know we've lost countless businesses, and the truth is, until we figure out what we're going to do about these small business owners' rent, it's going to be tough to tell.
As for details about what restaurants can do and where they can set up tables and chairs, the transportation commissioner today wouldn't reveal specifics.
I hope people will be pleased. I think it's going to be a very nimble and user-friendly approach.
We anticipate some detailed answers on Thursday. As for the mayor's coronavirus test, City Hall tells us he'll get those results in about 2 days. Live in the West Village, Andrew Siff, News 4 New York.
All right, Andrew, thank you. New Jersey entered phase 2 of reopening yesterday, and the state's already looking toward reaching another milestone next week. Next Monday, personal care facilities can reopen. Places like hair and nail salons, tattoo parlors, spas, tanning salons. The Attorney General issued guidance for those businesses today, which does include coronavirus screenings, masks, appointments, capacity limits, and social distancing. Now, Connecticut enters phase 2 reopening tomorrow. That means that amusement parks, hotels, and indoor museums are set to reopen. Also, indoor dining and personal services like nail salons, tattoo parlors can open. Gyms and other sports facilities are allowed. And if you've missed going to a movie or bowling, movie theaters and bowling alleys will be allowed to reopen.